Hare. So, welcome to the Srimad Bhagavatam thematic series. So, we are on the last of the last sections of the sixth chapter. Now, Narad Muni has been describing how he gave up his material body made of Pancha Bhautika, made of these five material elements, and simultaneously he attained a spiritual body. Simultaneously, he attained a spiritual body. And this is compared to the light flashing, the thunder light flashing. So this was very nicely described in this verse. Let me go to that verse. And yesterday we discussed. Yes, evam Krishnamatir Brahmyam na saktas akhala na saktasya amalatmana kala pradurbhut kale tadit saudhamini yatha. So just like that, his thought was fully absorbed in Krishna. So that is a criteria for going back to Godhead. And then he was given a Shuddham Bhagavatim Tanum, spiritual body. And the karma was completely, that body fell away. And we discussed quite in detail Vishwanath Thakur's commentary on this, what it really means. And then at the end of Kalpa, Brahma withdrew the universe, and along with all the jivas, he went to sleep with Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And with the beginning of the day, he, he manifested as the son of Brahma, but actually, it's like Krishna manifesting as the son of Vasudeva. So both the Lord and his devotees' birth are, you know, transcendental. That's what Vishwanath Thakur and Prabhupada says. And in this birth as Narad Muni, he's got a completely spiritual body and he can move in the three planetary systems. He can move in the material universe and the spiritual universe. So that's the glory of Narad Muni. Now, further Narad Muni is explaining his glory. Devadattam imam veenam swara brahma vibhushitam murchityat murchat murchitva harikatam Ghayamanas playing Murchanas and Alaps, Murchitva. These are different, I think meters, when we sing the Saregama. On the Veena, Imam Veenam, given by the Lord, Devadattam, using the seven sacred notes of the scale, Swara Brahma Vibhushitam. I wonder about Charamiyam, singing the glories of the Lord. Hari Katam Gayamana. So, Prabhupada, the musical stringed instrument called the Veena, which was handed to Narad by Lord Sri Krishna, is described in the Linga Puran. And this is confirmed by Srila Jiva Goswami. So Srila Jiva Goswami in his commentary mentions how this Veena was gifted by the Lord to Narad Muni. This transcendental instrument is identical with Lord Sri Krishna and Narad because all of them are the same transcendental category. So the Lord is spiritual, Narad is completely in a spiritual body. The instrument also is not of this material world. It is coming from the spiritual world. So they are all spiritual. Sound vibrated by an instrument cannot be material, and therefore the glories and pastimes which are broadcast by the instruments of Narad are also transcendental without a tinge of material inability. The 7 meters, sa, ra, ga, ma, pa, dha, ni. Sa, re, ga, ma, pa, dha, ni, sa. We sing that. Are also transcendental and specifically meant for transcendental songs. So they are meant for transcendental songs, not for composing mundane songs or mundane poetry. As a pure devotee of the Lord, Sri Narad Dev is always fulfilling his obligation to the Lord for his gift of the instrument, and thus he always engaged in singing his transcendental glories and therefore infallible in his exalted position. Following in the footsteps of Sri Narad Muni, a self-realized soul in the material world should also properly use the sound meters, namely sa, re, gha, ma, etc., in the service of the Lord by constantly singing the glories of the Lord as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. Where it is confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita, which verse in the Bhagavad Gita this confirms? Anyone knows? Raise their hands. Which verse of the Bhagavad Gita, we should constantly sing the glories of the Lord is mentioned? Anyone knows? Which verse you can quote as a reference to this? Which verse? Which verse you can quote? Anyone? Vinita Mataji, which verse you can quote from the Bhagavad Gita to substantiate what Prabhupada is saying?
Correct,
Constantly
Prabhuji.
singing the glories of the Lord. Which is the verse? The
Prabhuji,
verse
I am
also
not
begins with
at,
that only.
no, Prabhuji, I'm not at all good at this.
Pardon?
I'm not at all good at this. I've not understood how to connect or how to memorize.
Oh, that's the most important study we should do.
Yes, yes, Prabhuji.
Yes. So it is the Bhagavad Gita, 9.14. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridhavrata namasyante tu mam bhaktya nitya yukta upasate. Constantly chanting my glories. So that's what Prabhupada is referring here. Okay, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Narad's paraphernalia, not available to any other person in the material world, is also constantly with him at all times, wherever he goes. That is explained in two verses. So this next verse explain that. This Veena was given by Krishna. This is narrated in the Linga Purana. Vishnu Chakatakur also says. Swara refers to the seven notes of the scale. Swara means Sare Gama. Because they manifest Brahman, the Lord, they are called as Brahma. Swara Brahma Vibhushitam. Because why they are called as Brahma? Because they manifest Brahman. Murcha Yatva means he played music filled with Murchana, Alap, and other expressive modes. So I don't know anything about this, so I cannot say. Okay. Text 33. रागायत स्ववीर्याणि तीर्थपादप्रियः श्रवा आहुत मे इव आहुत इव मे शीघ्रं darshanam yati chetasi. When I sing his glories, pragayata swaviryani, the Lord who makes any place that he touches holy, tirthapada, and who is attracted to those who sing his glories. Priyashrava, the Lord becomes attracted to those who are singing his glories. Quickly, Shigram appears in my heart. Darshanam yati me chetasi, as if being called Ahuta Eva. So when we start chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, the Lord is attracted by our chanting and he comes running, you know, as if, oh, somebody is calling me. Krishna understands that because he's Sarva Vyapi. But when he comes, your attention is somewhere else. Then you commit aprahat. But that's not the case for the pure devotee because his heart is pure. Now, this purport is a very important purport, especially what is the mood in which we should chant the holy names. The absolute personality of Godhead is non-different from his transcendental name, form, pastimes, and sound vibrations thereof. Ata Shri Krishnamadi, no. Nama Chintamani, Chaitanya Rasavigra, Nitya Mukta Purna Shuddho, Abhinnatvam Namanami. As soon as a pure devotee, Prabhupada is saying who? Pure devotee. First thing, engages himself in pure devotional service. He becomes visible to the transcendental eyes of the pure devotee. So that means one should chant Shuddhanam, not of name with offense. As soon as a pure devotee engages himself in the pure devotional service of the hearing, chanting, and remembering of the name, fame, and activities of the Lord, at once he becomes visible to the transcendental eyes of the pure devotee by reflecting himself on the mirror of the heart by spiritual television. Therefore, a pure devotee who is related with the Lord in loving transcendental service can experience the presence of the Lord at every moment. It is a natural psychology in every individual case that a person likes to hear and enjoy his personal glories enumerated by others. So we like to hear our glories. Yes or no?
Yes.
Everyone will admit that.
Yes.
So this psychology is there in us because it is there in the Lord. But Srila Jeev Goswami will make it clear, will show that the Lord hears his glories because it is beneficial for the jivas. That is a natural instinct, and the Lord, being also an individual personality like others, is not an exception to the psychology because psychological characteristics visible in the individual souls are but reflections of the same psychology in the absolute Lord. The only difference is that the Lord is the greatest personality of all and absolute in all his affairs. If therefore the Lord is attracted by the pure devotees chanting of his glories, there is nothing astonishing. Since he is absolute, he can appear himself in the picture of his glorification, the two things being identical. Shri Narad chants the glorification of the Lord not for his personal benefit, but because the glorifications are identical with the Lord. Narad Muni penetrates into the presence of the Lord by the transcendental chanting. Very, very beautiful purport by Prabhupada. Vishwanath Chakravarti. Priya Shava means that Krishna goes wherever his glories are sung, since he is attracted to that. Priya Shava. Shava means to hear. Priya means which is dear. So if somebody starts speaking nice things about us, na, our ears will go there. And here, note, Jiva Goswami explains that he is attracted not for his own glorification, but to give mercy to the devotees. So this we will see Jiva Goswami's commentary. Tirtha Pada means that wherever the Lord goes becomes a holy place. The Lord actually is controlled by bhakti and thus he appears without being called. Therefore, the verse says that he comes as if being called. Ahut iva. Okay, I have not added Vishwanath G. Srila Jiva Goswami's commentary, but let me add it now only because that point is very important, I feel. You know, Arey, what is this Lord? He is also like mundane like us. He becomes attracted to hearing his own glories. We might feel like that. So that's not really the case. The Lord being absolute, Prabhupada has clarified it, but still I feel that we should have a clear understanding. Oh, okay. Just a minute. Give me half a minute. Let me search the commentary of Srila. Very short commentary, but very, very important. Of course, there was a mention by Bharu Maharaj himself in his commentary by Vishnu Thakur, but still I felt that uh, I should point it out. Okay, I got it. Let me share the screen. So Sri Jiva Goswami in his commentary to this says, the Lord is attached to those who sing about him, Priya Shavan. He sings not for his own fame, but with the expectation of the Lord's mercy for all beings. May all beings become happy. The form of the Lord who gave him the veena appears in his heart. So very simple, but very profound. Okay, now this is the last section which we will take and complete this discussion. Narad concludes his instructions. So Narad has uh, concluded that after Narad instructs Vyas, Narad, playing his veena, he leaves. So now Narad is going to conclude his instructions to Vyas. एतद्दीयातुर्चित्तानां मात्रस्पर्शसिच्छया मुहुः भवसिन्धुप्लवो दृष्टो हरिचर्यानुवर्णनम्. For persons whose minds are constantly afflicted, muhu atur chittanam, with desires for enjoyment of sense objects, matra sparsha ichchaya. I have directly experienced that, Drishta, singing the glories of the Lord. Etad hi hari charya anu varnanam is the boat, plava. for crossing material existence. Bhava Sindhu. Prabhupada. The symptom of a living being is that he cannot remain silent even for some time. He must be doing something, thinking of something, talking of something. Generally, the materialistic men think and discuss about subjects which satisfy their senses. But as these things are exercised under the influence of the external illusion energy, such sensual activities do not actually give them any satisfaction. On the contrary, they become full with cares and anxieties. This is called Maya or what is not. So Prabhupada defines what is Maya. That which cannot give them satisfaction is accepted as an object of satisfaction. This is Maya. So Narad Muni, by his personal experience, says that satisfaction for such frustrated beings engaged in sense gratification is to chant always the activities of the Lord. The point is that the subject matter only should be changed. No one can check the thinking activities of the living being, nor the feeling, willing, or working processes. But if one wants actual happiness, he must change the subject matter only. Instead of talking of politics of a dying man, one must discuss the politics administered by the Lord himself. Instead of relishing activities of certain cinema artist, one can turn his attention to the activities of the Lord with his eternal associates like the gopis and the Lakshmis. The Almighty Personality of Godhead, by His causeless mercy, descends on the earth and manifests activities almost on the line of worldly men, but at the same time extraordinarily because He is Almighty. He does so for the benefit of all conditioned souls so that they can turn their attention to transcendence. By doing so, the conditioned soul will gradually be promoted to the transcendental position and easily cross the ocean of nescience. Bhava Sindhu Plava, the source of miseries. This is stated from personal experience by such an authority as Sri Narada. As we can have the same experience also if we begin to follow in the footsteps of the great sage, the dearmost devotee of the Lord, Vishwanath Thakur. This verse summarizes the topics being discussed. For those whose minds are afflicted by the desire for enjoyment, sparsha. Sparsha means what? Sparsha means matra sparshastu kaunteya, sense objects. The senses want to enjoy sense objects. So this is what is called as sparsha. Of the sense objects, matra, I mentioned, which is an ocean, the boat, Bhava Sindhu Plava, for crossing that ocean is praising the Lord's activity. I have directly seen, experienced that, drishta. There is no proof necessary. Because Kirtan is the main anga out of the many angas of bhakti, it is mentioned. However, the statement should mean that all angas of bhakti will be effective. But Kirtan is the main anga. Taramade Sarvashresht, Nama Sankirtan. Niraparada Namale, Paye Prema Dan. Okay. Further, Narad Muni glorifies actually that bhakti is the only process which can satisfy the soul. Even other yoga processes, they cannot bring satisfaction. So he quotes this very famous verse. Yamadivir yogapate kamaloba hatah muhu mukunda sevaya yadvat thatatmadya nashamyati. The Atma constantly afflicted muhu hata by lust and greed. Kamaloba will not be satisfied. Na tata adya shamyati by Ashtanga Yoga and other paths. Yamadibir yogapate as much as by direct service to Mukunda. Mukunda Sevaya Yadvat. Prabhupada. Yoga aims at controlling the senses. By practice of the mystic process of bodily exercise in sitting, thinking, feeling, willing, concentrating, meditating, and at last being merged into transcendence, one can control the senses. So Prabhupada is giving the Ashta Anga. Sitting is, asana. Thinking, feeling, willing, concentrating, meditating. This is pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and at last samadhi. The senses are considered like venomous serpents, and the yoga system is just to control them. On the other hand, Narad Muni recommends other method for controlling the senses in the transcendental service of Mukund, the personality of Godhead. But by his experience, he says that devotional service to the Lord is more effective and practical than the system of artificially controlling the senses. In the service of the Lord Mukund, the senses are transcendently engaged. Thus, there is no chance of being engaged in sense satisfaction. The senses want some engagement. To check them artificially is no check at all, because as soon as there is some opportunity for enjoyment, the serpent like senses will certainly take advantage of it. So, the paths of Ashtanga Yoga and Gyan Yoga, there is withdrawal of the senses. It is a negation process. But in the bhakti, there is the engagement of the senses. The senses require natural engagement. So that's a more natural process of controlling the senses. There are many such instances in history, just like Vishwamitra Muni's falling a victim to the beauty of Menaka. But Haridas Thakur was allured at midnight by the well-dressed Maya, and still she could not induce that great devotee in her trap. The whole idea is that without devotional service to Lord, either the yoga system nor the dry philosophical speculation can ever become successful. That means, Ashtanga Yoga also has to have bhakti, then only it is successful. And Gyan Yoga also has to have bhakti, then it is successful. Pure devotional service of the Lord without being tinged by fruitive work, mystic yoga, or speculative philosophy is the foremost procedure to attain self-realization. So Prabhupada is now speaking about Shuddha Bhakti. Such pure devotional service is transcendental in nature, and the systems of yoga and jnana are subordinate to such processes. When the transcendental devotional service is mixed with a subordinate process, it is no longer transcendental, but it is called mixed devotional service. So Mishra Bhakti. So there is Karma Mishra Bhakti, Jnana Mishra Bhakti, Yoga Mishra Bhakti. Prabhupada doesn't go into the details, but Vishwanath Chandra Thakur in his commentary will mention, and we will see that. Srila Vyasadeva, the author of Srimad Bhagavatam, will gradually develop all these different systems of transcendental realization in the text. So please remember that in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a lot of Mishra Bhakti which is discussed. And it goes towards Shuddha Bhakti, and within Shuddha Bhakti, it goes to the highest kind of Shuddha Bhakti, which is practiced by the Vrajvasis. So there is a gradual evolution. So all types of mixed devotion are also discussed in the Bhagavatam. That's why we should study the Bhagavatam very carefully. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Now he brings out, though it is ascertained that the state of bhakti is real liberation, yoga and gyan mixed with bhakti will not pacify the Atma as much as pure bhakti. Atma is not pacified by yoga, yogapate, as much as by serving Mukunda directly. Adha. It is established that yoga and other processes without bhakti are futile. So now uh, he gives praman. What is the praman he gives? That it has been established yoga and other processes are without bhakti are futile. So he gives the first praman. O Almighty Lord, Bhuman, in the past, Pura, many yogis, Bhavo Api Yogina, in this world here, achieved Labdaya, the platform of devotional service, by offering all their endeavors unto you. Tad Arpita Iha, and faithfully carrying out their prescribed duties, Nija Karma. Through such devotional service, Bhaktya Eva, perfected by the process of hearing and chanting about you, Kata Upanitaya, they came to understand you, Vibhuddhaya, O infallible one, Achyuta, and could easily surrender to you, Agya Prapidare, and achieve your supreme abode, Te Gatim Para. So you can see that there are many yogis who achieved devotion. That means that yoga has to have an element of devotion, and they have that prescribed duties also there, and only by that they can achieve their perfection. Then he quotes this famous, which we have discussed, Naishkarmya achyuta bhavavarjitam no shobhate jnanam alam niranjanam kutap punah shashvata badram ishvare cha arpita na cha arpita karma yad akaranam. So jnana without element of bhakti mixed in it is fruitless. What to speak of nishkama karma yoga with no bhakti, it cannot give results. Sakama bhakti, sakam also cannot give. Therefore, this verse must only refer to yoga and other processes mixed with bhakti, since they otherwise would give no results at all. And even if these processes pacify the Atma to some extent, they do not pacify it to the extent that pure bhakti alone, serving Mukunda without these processes, does. That means Shuddha Bhakti. These mixed processes will not satisfy Atma completely. Yen Atma suprasidati. Prasidati is different than suprasidati. So now the proof is, Vyasa was only dissatisfied. Bhavata nu dita prayam yasho bhagavata malam ene vaso na tushyate manne tad darshanam kilam. We have studied this. Though bhakti is described later as a means of liberation, three types of bhakti are seen. Pure bhakti, kevala bhakti, mixed bhakti, but with bhakti being predominant, pradhan. It is called as pradhani bhuta bhakti. And mixed bhakti, but with bhakti being secondary, guna bhav. It is called as guni bhuta bhakti. Keval bhakti is illustrated in verses such as Tektva Sadharmam and Aham Purvatit Bhava. Pradhani bhakti is illustrated in the following. Kurvanayatra karmani bhagavat chikitsaya sakrit granti gunanamani krishnasyanusmaranti cha. I discussed this quite in detail if you remember. That there's karma, mishra bhakti this is. And bhakti is pradhan. Guna bhava bhakti. यदत्र क्रियते कर्म भगवत परितोषणम ज्ञानम यत्तद अधीनम ही भक्ति योग समन्वितम. That gyan which arises from karma, which is pleasing to the Lord, bhagavad paritoshanam, because of being offered to him, yadatra kriyate, is endowed with bhakti. Keval bhakti practiced by a person who is nishkam, also called as ananya bhakti, shuddha bhakti, nirguna bhakti, uttama bhakti. I don't know why this mistake has come up here. Nirguna bhakti, Uttama bhakti and Akinchana bhakti gives prema as a result. Pradhyanya bhakti classified as Karma Mishra bhakti, Jnana Mishra bhakti and Yoga Mishra bhakti. So Karma Mishra bhakti and Jnana Mishra bhakti is discussed in 7.14 or 16, I think. Yoga Mishra bhakti is discussed in 7.29 and 30 of Bhagavad Gita and elaborated in 8th chapter. Are practiced by those who are Shanta, produces Rati and liberation for some. It are practiced by those who are Shanta and produces Rati, Bhava and liberation for some. If one of these persons, that is this Mishra Bhaktas, get the association of a person with Dasya Bhav or other sentiments, that is Sakya Vatsalya, because of predominance of Bhakti desiring Dasya or other sentiments, that person will achieve Prema for that Dasya and other Bhav with the predominance of Aishwarya. There will be Aishwarya Bhav mode. In Guna Bhava Bhakti, Bhakti does not reveal its own results and name. It is only an assistant of karma, jnana and yoga, which cannot produce results without bhakti's presence. So, karma is pradhan. That's why this is called as karma yoga. Jnana is pradhan. This is called as jnana, jnana yoga. And yoga is pradhan. It's called as ashtanga yoga. So, nishkam karma yoga will lead to jnana, and practice of jnana will lead to liberation. And Gyan will not give liberation because if Bhakti is not present, it is the Bhakti element in that Gyan which will give liberation. Similarly, Yoga will not give liberation if that Bhakti element is not there. So, because the results are actually given by Bhakti, so Bhakti has to be present. And if these practitioners commit any offense to Bhakti Devi, then they cannot attain liberation. Bhakti in this case is only secondary, tatastha. Bhakti Mishra Karma. So you can see Bhakti Mishra Karma means karma is pradhan. Whereas Karma Mishra Bhakti means Bhakti is pradhan with a mixture of karma. Bhakti Mishra Gyan and Bhakti Mishra Yog produce liberation. So these produce liberation. Thus, in the scripture, only two types of bhakti are accepted, Kevala and Pradhanibhut. So we don't accept, Bhakti Mishra Karma, Bhakti Mishra Gyan or Bhakti Mishra Yoga. All this Narad instructed to Vyas, who explains this in the 12th canto. Okay, any questions you have about this? What we discussed up till now? Any questions, any clarifications? Okay, one. Yes, Vinita Mataji.
Krishna Prabhuji. Mhm. Prabhuji, now you explained the
Can you
different
speak a
types
little
of
loudly, please?
yes, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, you explained all the different types of bhakti.
No, I'm not able to still hear you.
Okay. Uh, Prabhuji, you explained the different types of bhaktis, ma'am, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm. So where do we stand, Prabhuji, as aspiring devotees?
Now, it really depends. Uh, there are different classes of devotees. There can be sometimes, connected to temple, somebody is a well-wisher who comes now and then gives donation, and he's still not taken up to serious practice. There are others who have understood the goal of life is to practice bhakti, and they are taken up to the process with seriousness, and they have made this as the goal of life, and they are chanting, they are following the regulatory principles, and they are trying to keep Krishna in the center, but also to take care of their family, take care of the body. They have to also work. And there are some who have, given up everything and they are fully working for Krishna. You know, they are doing all their work for Krishna. And there are some who are on a very exalted platform, who are always absorbed in thought of Krishna. So there will be different levels. So I would say that instead of asking where we stand, we should actually study all these different types of bhakti. Even the Gunibhuta Bhakti, the Mishra Bhakti, and Shuddha Bhakti. And all this is there in the Bhagavad Gita, especially when we study Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary on the Bhagavad Gita. So we should carefully study all this, and having studied them, then we can, evaluate ourselves. We evaluate ourselves and we know where we are situated and where we have to go ahead. So, like that, that is what we should do. And of course, Krishna also discusses this in the Bhagavad Gita. There is an entire yoga ladder which helps us to understand where we are situated in bhakti. But that is a vast subject and one has to thoroughly study it. And at least one should know all that there are these different types of bhakti. And first, one has to also understand what is the definition of Shuddha Bhakti. So, Shuddha Bhakti is a very exalted, platform. So, whereas we should understand this definition of Shuddha Bhakti, and we should understand what is mixed bhakti devotion also, and whether bhakti is pradhan. At least we should see that we make pradhan as bhakti, and then slowly try to practice, come to the point of practicing of Shuddha Bhakti. And then in Shuddha Bhakti, we should start making advancement. That's what I can say in summary now. Is it okay, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji, I got it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so now let's go to the other two, three verses are there. We'll finish this discussion. सर्वं तद् आख्यातं यत्पृष्टोऽहं त्वया नघ जन्म कर्म रहस्यं मे भवतश्चात्मतोषणम्. O sinless Vyas, Anaga, I have explained Aham Akyatam. All this Sarvam Tadidam, confidential knowledge, Rahasyam, about my birth and activities. May Janma Karma, about which yet you have asked. Tvaya Prishtaham, so that your mind will be satisfied. Bhavata cha Atma Toshanam. Prabhupada. The process of devotional activities from the beginning to the stage of transcendence is all duly explained to satisfy the inquiries of Narad. He has explained how the seeds of devotional service were sown by transcendental association and how they gradually developed by hearing and the sages. The result of such hearing is detachment from worldliness. So much so that even a small boy could receive the death news of his mother, which was his only caretaker, as a blessing of God. He at once he took the opportunity to search out the Lord. A sincere urge for having an interview with the Lord was also granted to him, although it is not possible for anyone to see the Lord with mundane eyes. He also explained how, by execution of pure transcendental service, one can get rid of fruitive action of accumulated work, and how he transformed his material body into a spiritual one. The spiritual body is alone able to enter into the spiritual realm of the Lord, and no one but a pure devotee is eligible to enter the kingdom of God. So we have to understand this criteria that ultimately we have to become pure devotee to enter the spiritual world. One has to first of all spiritualize his body and then ultimately attain a spiritual body, and then he can go into the spiritual world. All the mysteries of transcendental realization are duly experienced by Narad Muni himself, and therefore, by hearing such an authority, one can have some idea of the results of devotional service, which are hardly delineated even in the original text of the Vedas. So, do we have some idea now what is the result of our practice of Krishna consciousness? Eternal life, eternal spiritual body, eternal happiness, no more birth, death, old age, disease, no more anxieties. In the Vedas and Upanishads, there is only indirect hints to all this. Nothing is directly explained there, and therefore Srimad Bhagavatam is the mature fruit of all Vedic trees of literatures. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Sarvam here refers to the appearance of Narad's bhakti, its types, growth and result, the activities of the devotee, destruction of parartha karma, how the devotee leaves his body, achieving a spiritual body without karmas. So, Sarvam. It is called secret because it is not understood by those who study Vedanta. Okay, now Narad Vyas conversation has completed. The conversation goes back to Sut Goswami. Sut Goswami speaks. Suta uvacha evam sambhashya bhagavan narado vyasavisutam amantrayavinam rannayan yayo yadrichako muni. Suta said Narad, Bhagavan Narad Muni, freely moving without material motive, yadrichako, having spoken to evam sambhashya. Whom did he speak to? Vyas, the son of Satyavati. Vyasavi Sutam. And taking leave, Amantra departed Yayo while taking pleasure in his Veena. Veena Ranayan. Every living being is anxious for full freedom because that is his transcendental nature. We want full freedom. When we go out in the nature and see the vast mountains and the sky, we raise our hands. You experience a kind of freedom, but the freedom is actually beyond this world where we can fly as eternal spacemen like Narad Muni. There's no restriction. And this freedom is obtained only through transcendental service of the Lord. Illusioned by the external energy, everyone thinks that is free, but actually is bound up by the laws of nature. A conditioned soul cannot freely move from one place to another, even on this earth. What to speak of one planet to another? So even on this earth, do you think you can move easily? So much restrictions. So many countries have visa policies. They are deporting back now. But a full-fledged free soul like Narad, always engaged in the chanting of the Lord's glories, is free to move not only on earth, but also in any part of the universe, as well as in any part of the spiritual sky. We can just imagine the extent and unlimitedness of his freedom, which is as good as that of the Supreme Lord. There is no reason or obligation for his traveling, and no one can stop him from his free movement. Similarly, the transcendental system of devotional service is also free. Anya abhilashita shunyam jnana karmadya anavratam. So devotional service, it cannot be hindered by anything external. It needs free movement, like a creeper, has to go up. If you restrict it from top, then it will not grow up. So similarly, pure devotional service is like that. It may or may not develop in a particular person even after he undergoes all the detailed formulas. Similarly, the association of devotee is also free. One may be fortunate to have it, or one may not have it even after thousands of endeavors. Therefore, in all spheres of devotional service, freedom is the main pivot. Without freedom, there is no execution of devotional service. The freedom surrendered to the Lord does not mean that the devotee becomes dependent in every respect. To surrender unto the Lord through the transparent medium of the spiritual master is to attain complete freedom of life. Very beautiful. Amantra means taking leave. Yadrichika means that Narad moves about without a motive. Bhakti is also Yadrichiki. Prabhupada explained this quite in detail. And so the devotee. Giving association to all Vyas was also Yadrichiki. He felt, let me go and give association to Vyas. So he went. He's completely free to do that. Nobody can restrict him. Long live these three types of causelessness concerning devotion. So there are three things: bhakti and association and bhakta. All three. Okay, last text. Aho devarshirdhanyoyam yatkirtam sarang dhanvah gayan madyanidam tantrya ramayat aturam jagat. Oh, Aho, Narada, Devarishi, the most fortunate, I am yet dhanya. Because singing and rejoicing, Gayan, Madhyan, in the glories of Krishna, Sharang Dhanvana Kirtim, with his Veena, Idam Tantra, he gives bliss, Ramayatti, to the suffering world, Aturam Jagat. Sri Narada Muni plays on his instrument to glorify the transcendental activities of the Lord and to give relief to all miserable and living entities of the universe. No one is happy here within the universe. What is felt as happiness is Maya's illusion. We should be convinced about this, that we are not happy in this world. And if we think we are happy, we are in illusion. The illusionary energy of the Lord is so strong that even the hog who lives on filthy stool feels happy. No one can be truly happy within this material world. Prabhupada is again reiterating this. Shinarad Muni, in order to enlighten the miserable inhabitants, wanders everywhere. His mission is to get them back home, back to Godhead. That is the mission of all genuine devotees of the Lord, following in the footsteps of that great sage. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purpose for the first canto, sixth chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Conversation between Narad and Vyas. Vishwanath Chakravarti. This verse reveals astonishment. Tantra means with the Veena. That's it. So that completes the Narada Vyasa Samvad, which is a very, very, very important topic and theme in the Bhagavatam, because how Bhagavatam manifested in the Bhaumalila through the Narada Vyasa Samvad is mentioned. Secondly, as we mentioned, uh, the different stages of bhakti, as Suta Goswami has described in the second chapter, how Narad in his previous life goes through these different stages, is also narrated in this whole pastime. And it is a source of inspiration for sadhakas that if we follow in the footsteps of Narad Muni in his previous life, we can also attain perfection. So all these stages are discussed, how Narad in his previous life attained prema, had the darshan of the Lord also, a brief darshan. So it's a wonderful inspiration theme, the Narad Vyas Samvad, which we are ending today. So any questions or any clarifications anyone else has about this topic up till now, what we discussed? Any clarifications? Okay, so we will stop here. Granth Raj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Hare Krishna.